Hello, my name is James Gomez, and this is the Wrestling Philosopher Podcast. Honestly, this is not something I expected myself doing in the near future, if at all, but after some conversations that went on probably a little bit too long, they kind of got annoyed of me, and I have too many voices in my head, so I need to get them out somewhere, so that's what brings us here today. In the past, I've made some announcements when I've had projects and things, and this is one that's been on my mind for a while. I think about wrestling. I'm involved with wrestling. I try to constantly look for the next level in the world of wrestling, and this is something that's been on my mind for a while, like I mentioned, but I think it's time it comes out. I don't know how long I'll keep this up. I don't know what's the best way to go about this, but this is the first step, and like the conversation I had the other day, this idea would stay in my head for the next 6 months, no matter what, even if I did or didn't do it. If I did it, like I'm doing right now I'm 6 months deep, and I'm that much better, smarter, ideally, more than anything. So here we are. We're starting this. How I go about this moving forward, most likely will be audio only. Easier for me. Someone can put this in their car as they drive around. That works great. I don't want to talk for more than 30 minutes just because that's a little too much rambling even for me. The voices in my head are rather loud, but I think 30 minutes of the scary voices is good enough for me. I hope to talk about just coaching. Some experiences I've had, ideas I have, some norms that I see these days. Right now I'm going through a handful of coaching books. I think those would be fun to relate to the world of wrestling and combat sports. I'm a huge fan of wrestling, obviously, and I would like to talk about wrestling and MMA current events. Those would be fun to maybe chat about. And then if I ever decide to learn this, which it's very unlikely, but we may throw it out there anyway, potentially interviewing people, and we'll see how that goes from there. But as the inaugural episode, the very first that no one will ever forget, I think it's just best for an introduction. If I didn't say it at the stop, I'll say it again right now. My name is James. I was born in California. I wrestled from about 9, and I'd say I still wrestle this day. So almost 20 years of wrestling. I think growing up I was a good wrestler, but I never believed I could be a great wrestler, and we'll touch on that a little bit later. I went to college to wrestle, junior college. I didn't actualize that too. I really wanted to go to Boise State, transfer right out of high school, go D1, wrestle, but that didn't happen. So when I went to the junior college, my love for wrestling kind of dwindled. I stuck with it for the, the priority registration. I stuck with it for that sense, but it really just was kind of something for me to do. And after that, I really walked away from wrestling for a long, long time. While growing up, though, my father and I, while flipping through the channels, we stumbled across American Ninja Warrior, and that was my way of cross-training. I would go to the park, I would climb. We built a cliffhanger at our house and in the garage. It was incredible. So after I was done with wrestling for a period of time, I dove deep into American Ninja Warrior. I was on the show eventually. I had a ton of fun. It was kind of an exhausting production experience, but I really dove into that. And after being on the show, after kind of seeing the ugly side of production, all that fun stuff, I decided to walk away. And I just kind of kept exercising, kept training. And then in about October, I was on the American Ninja Warrior. We'll go back to it. My apologies. I was on American Ninja Warrior in May 2018. And then after my experience, I was kind of just done with Ninja Warrior. And then in October 2018, Ben Askren gets signed to the UFC, who is an athlete I looked up to a lot growing up. Henry Cejudo, I believe, beat Demetrius Johnson in a tight title fight. So Henry Cejudo, Olympic champion 2008, now UFC champion. And at the same time, David Taylor and Kyle Dake. I said Ben Askren again, my goodness. David Taylor and Kyle Dake both win world titles in Budapest. And those were 4 athletes that were really in the circle of wrestling as I was growing up. And all those kind of happened at the same time, so I start watching some MMA, start watching some college wrestling. I start following Kyle Dake and David Taylor again, and I'm enthralled. I think my mind matured a bit, and I was looking at the sport in such a different way. Kyle Dake at the time just started doing functional patterns, and at this point in my life, I had some kind of back injuries, and I was myself looking for another way to work out. So I start diving into biomechanics, start trying to learn about that, and I'm just in wrestling. And when I think back to maybe me not reaching my potential, which isn't important, but I think about that sometimes, I don't think about it in the sense of, oh, I could have been. I don't think about that anymore. I think of it in the way, like, what did the younger me need to hear to make me believe in myself, in a sense? I know there's a lot going on there, but I wanted to be the coach that I needed, and that's where I dove into. And I definitely make sure before every practice that I coach, that I'm coaching because I want to be there. I truly love the art of wrestling. I love trying to discover almost like truth and how that's going to work on the mat. It's so much fun, especially as I dive into biomechanics. Some of this is starting to become very formulaic, and there does seem to be truth, and I'm diving into that, and going to that was a ton of fun. Since I came back to wrestling, which was around 2018, I coached a youth kids club program, middle school. I had a couple seasons with different high schools. I'm coaching college right now. I coached college for a little bit in 2020. I was just everywhere, and I just wanted to keep coaching. Most recently, over the summer, I had the opportunity to go abroad with some athletes from the Sacramento area, and I got to make some great connections along the way over the past year. And after this summer, I really wanted to start going on my own thing. I was assistant coach for a long, long time. I have been kind of a head club coach, but a very small program. But I want to start doing my own thing. And that's kind of what brings me to this. I've actively studied the art of international wrestling and trying to compare that to the U.S. system, see what the best way of learning is. And I actually got my teaching credential a handful of years back. So now I just think about the best way to teach anything in general. It fascinates me. And I want to see if I can find the best way to go about teaching, whether it's wrestling, whether it's hockey. I don't really care. But I like teaching, and I want to see the world and how they teach, my favorite game. So that's kind of where I've been, loosely. I skipped over a lot of different things. So where am I at now? Right now I'm a PE teacher at a school. I'm a junior college and youth wrestling coach. Both I enjoy immensely. It's a lot more fun for me. I'm trying to learn and read a lot more. I recently bought Ben Askren's book, Extreme Balance. I'm excited to read that. I hope to go over that chapter by chapter, maybe in future podcast episodes. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I should call this a podcast yet, either. Feels kind of weird, because I'm just some guy talking by himself. Anyway, and I'm hoping I'm hoping these thoughts that I'm sharing kind of push me to continue to read, push me to continue to get uncomfortable. I have no problem being uncomfortable on the mat. I have no problem having an athlete beat me in exchange or new ideas, but the reading is definitely uncomfortable for me. It's something I got to force myself to do, and I think this experience will help me get there faster. So that'll be interesting to go on that experience. And then lastly, where I've been, all over the place in a lot of different ways. around the world, actually, with wrestling a couple of times. I'm a PE teacher, wrestling coach now. It's been great. I've loved it. Now, where do I want to go? This kind of goes into one of my bigger motivations to be a coach. I talked about how I want to be the coach that I needed growing up, and which is great because which is interesting because I had great coaches, all my coaches. I had a great support system. But at the end of the day, I didn't grasp the confidence I needed in myself. I understand how to balance that, which is why I'm really excited to read Ben's book. So I want to be able to balance that as a leader and empower the athletes I get to work with to believe in themselves a little bit more. Again, it's a balance. I'm working on that. And I want to create other great coaches. I think wrestling specifically gets taught wrong in a lot of ways because these coaches had other bad coaches. And I think the Gable era of just do it harder, I think that is extremely outdated, and I think that is ruining the teaching of wrestling in a lot of ways. And I think they took the wrong lessons from Gable, because I think if you listen to Gable properly, he does do things intensely, but that's only if you listen to the volume. What he says is actually very, very intuitive to his athletes, but I think that got missed. It was easier to do something harder. It was easier to say, beat him with pace instead of the nuance that Gable had, and I think that got missed. And I don't think that's Gable's fault. I think that's the message being delivered poorly. And I'm hoping I can help deliver a more positive message and create other great coaches. I still want to travel as much as I can. I think the world is a fascinating place that has different learning styles, different theories. I want to see how this sport, this game, is translated at every level and every continent. I think it's fascinating. I want to stay active, and I want to compete in hobbyist wrestling. I think jiu-jitsu has the hobbyist adult community freaking locked down, and I am jealous of that. So I'm going to keep competing as much as I can. I'm going to try to go to Masters in Vegas in April 2025. I'm coming. I took third a couple years back. I'm coming for that big stop sign. I think that's important. I think a lot of people, even if they weren't the best wrestler and they knew that, they still walk away feeling like their career was a failure. And I don't want that for people. I want people to enjoy the sport of wrestling. People can enjoy the sport of jiu-jitsu. People can go to a tournament and take third, and it's no big deal. But they don't want to talk about how their postseason ended when they were 16 years old. That's strange to me. I want to change that. I want to build a healthy, competitive environment that you still learn in. And if I'm still in shape, active, trying to compete, I'm just going to be a better coach. At the end of the day, I'm just going to keep getting better, and that excites me more than anything. I think I'm not even close to my potential as both an athlete and a coach, and I'm excited to keep diving into that and keep learning about where I may be missing and keep learning where I've been right and get those ideas a little bit sharper down the line. So definitely want to keep competing. I think that's a beautiful thing. And then another partial reason why we are recording this on this day is I think I do have some valid thoughts to share, and I would enjoy sharing those in a commentating aspect. Whether if that's in MMA or wrestling, I would enjoy both. I'm a huge fan of both. And this gives me the opportunity to start working on these thoughts, ironing them out, and getting them into a place where they can be packaged and essentially shown that my voice and my mind have equal value to the physical things I could do. Because I think at one point in my life, it was most athletes feel like only their body and what they can physically do, that has value. And I'm trying to transition to a point where my mind and the thoughts have value more. Don't know if we're there yet, but this is the journey that we're going to go on. I hope you enjoyed this little intro to this new journey I'm going on. By no means do I have all the answers, but this is the place where I hope to ask a lot of questions, and then maybe someone out there can find the answers and then tell me about them later, because that'd be really, really cool. Because I don't have all the answers, but I think I have some good questions. I think I have some good thoughts. And I think maybe if this is done right, I think wrestling can be in a better place. We'll see. So once again, James Gomez. This was episode 1 of the Wrestling Philosopher Podcast, experience, meditations. I don't know if we're going that hard in the philosophy realm, but that's it. I'm excited to see what this holds, and I hope you stick around and enjoy it. See ya.